How's it going, guys? I'm here to review Mortal Kombat Annihilation 1997. So Mortal Kombat Annihilation takes place after the events, or it takes place right after Mortal Kombat ended. And pretty much Liu Kang defeated Shang Tsung in the last movie. Earthrealm is victorious. They are at peace for another generation until Shao Kahn comes along to invade Earthrealm, because I guess Shao Kahn doesn't give a fuck. He still wants to invade it anyways. And he just broke the rules. He's just like, I want to rule this realm. It doesn't matter if I lost. Shao Kahn and his forces, Motaro, Sindel, Ermac, Rain, Shiva, Baraka, pretty much all these evil villains, antagonists, they all show up. So as for the heroes, the protagonists, you still have Liu Kang, Robert Shao's Liu Kang. You have Kitana, and you have different actors like who plays Raiden, Sonya, and Johnny Cage, like actor replacements pretty much. And then you have new characters such as Jax, Jade, Nightwolf, all these other characters pretty much. So once again, Liu Kang is the chosen one, and he has to fight Shao Kahn because Shao Kahn, like I said, he's like a ruler of all realms. He always invades realms. He's like the emperor of Outworld. He's like a dictator pretty much. So Liu Kang has to fight Shao Kahn. If he beats Shao Kahn, then the Elder Gods will restore pretty much peace and balance, because the balance was broken already by Shao Kahn. So I don't know why the Elder Gods and they just showed up later in the end of the movie. They're just like, all right, we're gonna set these straight. We're gonna do this Mortal Kombat thing again, and then whoever wins will have their own realm, or Shao Kahn can take this realm. But I don't know why the Elder Gods wasn't around throughout the whole movie, because they're the peacekeepers. They're the one who keeps everything in check, the rules in check. But I guess they weren't around when Shao Kahn broke those rules. And yeah, of course Shao Kahn was bound to do this anyways, because he needed Sindel. Sindel's the key for his plan, his evil plan, and Sindel's Kitana's mother. And yeah, so Raiden and his Earthrealmers, his chosen fighters, are fighting against the tyranny of evil, and Liu Kang fights Shao Kahn, an epic battle. And yeah, that's all I can say about the plot.
Days, so too shall it be destroyed! Your planet, Outworld, had begun to merge into one realm. Think of it as hell on Earth.
What did I think about this movie? Honestly, this movie is not as good as the first one, without a doubt. This movie is really not that good. Yes, it does kind of feel like it has that same feeling of the first movie. It does have the spirit of the first movie. It kind of does, it's still in its own world. It is linear to the film. They're both connected, of course. It's not like one of those sequels that totally disregards where the left one left off, or you know what I mean? It has the respect towards the first film, but at the same time, of course this was directed by a different director. It was Paul Anderson didn't show up again. I don't know, this movie just didn't have the charm of the original. The original one worked so well because the movie is so nostalgia, and the cast of the original movie, what made the movie, the soundtrack, the fight scenes, just everything about that movie was just done perfect already. This one, I felt like they tried too hard. I don't know, it was a little bit more cheesier. The fight scenes were a little bit more rushed than the first movie. I don't know, this movie just felt more of a rush than the original. That's the huge difference. And not to mention, they replaced Raiden, they replaced Sonya and Johnny with different actors and actresses. And I don't like what they did with Raiden's look in this movie. Yes, he still has that. Well, never mind. He doesn't have the hat. He has the white hair until he shaves it to a Billy Idol look, which is really, really weird. But it is what it is. And with some of these new characters, the acting is just kind of it's kind of mediocre compared to the first one, especially Sindel's, the actress who plays Sindel. Her, no offense to the actress, but the character just wasn't doing it for me in this movie. you can tell like the character was just trying too hard, especially Shao Kahn. And Shao Kahn in the video games, he's like one of the biggest bosses of all times in the Mortal Kombat franchise. Like ever since Mortal Kombat 2, the video game, came out, he was a pretty like damn scary like nemesis, and he was cheap as hell. Like he'll be spamming like the same moves, and he'll be taunting you while you're like losing the game. So that's Shao Kahn. He's one of the biggest baddies of Mortal Kombat, one of the biggest bosses too. But in this movie, he just seems so weak. He doesn't even have his iconic mask that much. I mean, he has it in the very beginning of the movie, but after that, like, he barely even wears the iconic skull mask. And he's just weak. I'm sorry. And he's kind of annoying. And he's just not as cool as Taiagawa's Shang Tsung in the original movie. It's just, no. And it's kind of embarrassing too, because Shao Kahn is the master of Shang Tsung. Shang Tsung is just an apprentice, like a sorcerer. It's kind of sad when the sorcerer apprentice, Shang Tsung, is more menacing than your own emperor in the movies, I mean. But it is what it is. Even Jack's character was a little bit dramatic in this movie. And the CGI in this movie, it's not worse. I mean, it is kind of worse. Never mind, it is kind of worse. I was going to say, it's still bad because the original's movie CGI was pretty bad. But this movie's the same thing, but just a little teensy-weensy bit worse, in my opinion. But yeah, the CGI in both of these Mortal Kombat movies were pretty bad because these were like mid-90s films, so...
This is the beginning of the end!
Khan's portals stay open.
Believe it or not, this is the first Mortal Kombat that I've seen when I was young. Like, when I was young, this is literally the first Mortal Kombat I've seen. And I thought this movie was the first movie, because I was a dumb little kid like that. But like I said, this was the first Mortal Kombat I've seen before even actually watching the original Mortal Kombat movie. And even years ago, I still kind of like enjoyed this movie, but now the more I watch it recently, it's entertaining still. The fight scenes are still pretty cool, but this movie just feels so rushed. Some of the acting in this movie is a little bit just cringe. I don't know. Some of these characters are just cheap and cheesy. And like, no, I'm not talking about like the actual characters. So these characters in the video games are done well, but in this movie, they're just done very cheap and just not that menacing and not that like memorable, in my opinion. So this is pretty much a huge step down from the original movie, because the original movie is just, no one has seen it before. That's why the original movie is so good, and they captured the spirit of the video games, while this one kind of does, but not really at the same time. It's really hard to explain. Overall, this is not a good sequel to the original. I'm sorry, it's just not. And this is really not a good sequel. Do I still enjoy watching it here and there? Of course I do. I mean, it's entertaining, but it's like one of those movies that you know it's pretty shitty, but it's like a guilty pleasure. You know it's entertaining. So this is one of those movies. So I would rate this movie a 6 out of 10. You know what? I think I'm being too fair to this movie, so I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10. Yeah, like I said, this was my quick review of Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Please leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Prepare for final battle!